want to edit like MagnatesMedia. In this tutorial I will show you step by step how to recreate this exact animation taken straight from an original MagnatesMedia video, which you can see right now on your screen. This animation is packed with advanced design and motion techniques, so you are going to learn a lot by watching. All assets used for this animation along with project file you can find in the description. No fluff, just pure high quality editing knowledge. So with that being said, let's dive in and make this a masterpiece. Okay guys, so let's get started with this tutorial. Firstly, of course, we need to create first composition. Let's name that main. Let's go with full HD as our resolution, frame rate to 30 and duration to 10 seconds. Let's then click OK. And first thing which we are going to do is to create our background for this animation. So let's start from creating new solid. Let's name that background. Then let's add here fill effect, and now let's change this color from red to this type of yellow. Okay, so it's going to be our first element for this background. Our second element is going to be this texture that is behind first layer of this background, which is just that flat yellow color. So let's create that texture. You need to find this type of PNG. It have to be this type of like grain dark background or texture. I recommend to check FreePic and find something similar. Okay, so now let's import this background to our composition. Firstly, we need to change scale from 100% to 25, and after that we have to add here few effects. We will start from adding here curves effect, this one. And we need to change this graph here to something like this probably. So just click and move a little down to create this graph. Then we need to add extract effect, and black point we have to set to 8. Okay, now let's add here a last but not least effect, fast box blur, blur radius to 5, and then last thing is going to be change opacity from 100% to 10. Okay, like that. And now also I think that we should change graph on course a little. Okay, now it's perfect. So you have to just play with this graph as long as you will get satisfying effect. Okay, now let's move this texture, for example, there, and let's copy that one time. Let's move this like maybe here. Let's change rotation a little. Okay, perfect. Now let's duplicate that one more time and let's change position to somewhere there, for example. Maybe we will move this like to here. Let's change rotation a little. Okay, now I have to move this a little on the right as well. Okay, perfect. One more time again, you just need to play with this as long as you will get effect that you want. Okay, and now we are done with our background. After creating our background, I plan to add here these bananas with this man with crown on his head. Okay, so I was able to find this picture of bananas in Google. So just find something similar and then import that on the timeline. Okay, like that. Now let's rotate that by 180 degrees. Okay, like this. Now let's move this down a little. Let's rotate that a little as well. Okay, let's make this a little bigger too. Okay, now it's in perfect position. After changing position of these bananas, we need to add here few effects, of course, to get exact same look as in my animation. So let's add here these effects. We need to start from adding here K-light effect, this one exactly. Then let's go to screen color, click here and select any place of our banana. Okay, it should look exactly like now. Then let's add here something named carton paint. It's something similar to auto paint, but it's adding more like carton look, so let's put that above K-light. Okay, as you can see, our edges are not so thin thanks to that effect, but we need to change some settings here as well. First, edge width to 0, then edge strength to like 3.7. Okay, we are not going to change any other settings in this cartoon paint effect. Let's add our last effect, which is going to be Uni.Sketchify. Let's add that above every other effect here. Okay, and ink intensity to 30. Okay, and by that we are done with our banana. So what we just did is that we add here K-light effect to remove background from our banana. Cartoon paint effect made our edges not so thin, and then Sketchify effect made this more cool looking by adding their like sketchy look. Okay, after that we need to duplicate this banana and move duplicated bananas on the right. Let's rotate that just, let's add minus instead of plus. Okay, perfect. Now I will change position and scale by these bananas to get something as similar to the original as possible. Okay, I think that it's ready. Now of course we need to add this man with crown, so let's import him and crown to After Effects. Okay, so here we have our man. Let's add him to our timeline. Okay, let's make this PNG a little smaller, and now let's mask this PNG because we just need the guy in the middle. Okay, let's make it a little smaller, something like this. Now let's add our crown, of course, as well. Okay, our crown looks like that. Everything I found just on Google for free. Of course, in the description you have link to all assets and project file, so if you want that, just check the description. Let's import our crown to timeline as well. Of course, let's make it smaller and put that on the head of this guy. Okay, perfect. Now let's pre-compose this guy with our crown. Okay, let's pre-compose that. Let's name that man with crown. And now we need to add here few effects. The reason why I pre-composed crown and man is because now we can add effects on the whole composition, so on our man and crown in the same time, instead of just adding these effects separately for each of element. Okay, first thing is going to be curse effects again, and this time our graph should look like this, and this time we are going to add here auto paint effect like this. Let's leave style in Van Gogh, but let's change frequency from 50 to 500. Okay, it's done. Now what I'm going to do is to move this man to the original place. Okay, I'm done with that. And now, because of the fact that there is so many elements in this animation, I will animate what we have done so far for now. So let's animate that. First thing which we have to do is to make all elements 3D. We can just leave this white solid as 2D layer, rest needs to be 3D. And now we need to create new camera with basic settings, and then click OK. Now immediately let's link new null to our just created camera, so let's add null. Okay, we linked new null to camera, and actually on our first null what we have to do is to add here this camera shake effect. As you can see on the whole animation we have camera shake effect. It's very easy to do, but it's adding a lot of very important movement to our animation, so it's like a cheat code for animation with good looking and smooth movement. So let's add here that camera shake effect. Let's go to null, to transform, and then press alt and click position. Now in this place we can add our script. It's going to be just wiggle, and our numbers are going to be 4 and 7. 4 is frequency of this movement, 7 is like volume of that. Then click OK. As you can see, it's working. Now let's link another null to first null. Okay, and let's create first keyframe somewhere here, so like 1 second and 10 frames. And then let's go to like maybe here. Let's create second keyframe. Now let's go to first keyframe and let's change position to something like that. Okay, now let's change graph for this movement. Let's create something like this. It have to be very sharp. Probably you should aim for something like that. Okay, perfect. Okay, now let's add animation for our bananas. First banana on the left should appear on the screen at start. So let's click on our banana and let's create here movement as well. Let's create first keyframe like here, second like here, and let's go to first keyframe and let's change position on the down exactly like this. Now let's create graph here shouldn't be really sharp. Probably you should aim in something like that. Okay, now let's animate second banana on the right. Banana on the right should appear exactly here, so in the place where our second movement is moving really fast. So let's create first keyframe somewhere here and second keyframe somewhere there. And now let's go to first keyframe and change position. Okay, exactly there. And now let's change graph here as well to something like this, so not really sharp as well. Okay, and last thing for animation for now is going to be this out zoom animation with RGB exactly like here. So let's create that, and actually it's going to be very simple because we are going to use free to use and pre-made template. You need to have animation composer, which is free to download, and I really recommend to download that pack of pre-made things. Let's open animation composer free. Now let's go to pre-compose and we need to find this transition here. Okay, it's exactly here. Let's click add. Okay, perfect. And now let's also change color strength of this RGB to probably 70. Okay, so it's not so strong. And now let's move this pre-compose to the start, and that cut mark should be exactly at start. Okay, like this. Okay, and for now our animation looks like that. Now let's add text and also animation for that text. That is going to be exactly here. Actually, I will show you that here. Okay, see, we are going to add this text and animation for that. Okay, so let's start from first text, which is going to be richest text. Let's create new text layer. Let's write richest. Font which we need to use is Balbao, this one. Also, let's change color of our text to black. Then we can make that pretty as well. Okay, and let's make this a little bigger. Just scale up that, something like that. And this text should appear somewhere here. Then on like 3-second mark, let's cut that. And let's change here text from richest to powerful. Okay, exactly like this. Now after like 15 frames, we need to add like man in the world text. Exactly like there below powerful text. Let's just duplicate powerful text, move that like 15 seconds ahead. Let's move this down and change text from powerful to man in the world. Okay, perfect. Now we need to animate this text. We are going to use for that very known and good script, which is TextEvo. Let's add here TextEvo, and also let's change based on mode to words, so our animation is going to be based on words instead of letters. And now let's just go to transform, opacity to 0, and go to position, and let's change that position to 40. Okay, it's animated. As you can see, animation is exactly same. Okay, and last thing for this text animation is going to be that line that is animated and is exactly here below the whole text composition. So let's add that line. Let's go to pen tool. Let's change stroke to this type of red. And let's change pixels for this stroke to like 12. And now let's actually create that line. Let's make this also 3D. Let's change position a little. Okay, perfect. Now let's animate that. But before animating, let's go to constants. Let's go to shape, let's go to stroke, and let's change line cap to round cap. So we have here rounded edges for this line. Now let's animate that by using trim path. Let's go to trim path and let's create first keyframes for both start and also end somewhere on the 4-second mark, and then let's go like 1 second ahead. Okay, somewhere here, and let's create second keyframes for both start and end setting. Now let's go to first keyframes and let's set keyframes to 50%. Okay, so this movement is ready. We just need to add graph for this movement. So let's select all keyframes. Let's go to graph editor. Let's go to value graph. Let's select all points and let's click here, and then let's create graph like this. And with that we are done with animating along with design for the first part of this animation. And actually I'm going to completely finish first part of animation by adding final touches to this composition, and then we'll move to second part of this animation with all already final touches added. So maybe first let's add turbulent effect for our texts. As you can see here we have turbulent effect. Turbulent effect is making our text looking like here. So let's add that. Let's add here turbulent displace effect, and amount let's set to 20, size to like 9. And now let's go to evolution. Let's press Alt and click on keyframe for evolution. As you can see, we have here place to write our script. Let's write time, then this symbol, and after that probably like 300. Okay, so thanks that this evolution is going to be changing with the time. As you can see here, evolution is changing by 10 decrease every frame. Now let's add the same exact effect with this setting to rest of our texts. Now we are going to add two effects on adjacent layers. Okay, so firstly create adjacent layer, and first we are going to add vignette effect. Amount to like 180. Angle of view we can leave like that. Now one more time adjacent layer, and this time posterize time effect. And usually when I was using posterize time, I was going for frame rate like 16, but for this animation I will change that a little and I will set frame rate to like 20, so it will be a little more smooth. Last thing which we want to do is to add like scale for whole animation. That scale will start from the time where we don't have so much movement at as first second, so probably this extra movement for animation will start from 10-second mark. Let's create new null and let's link that null to the second null. Let's go to position. Let's create first keyframe at this place and second at the end. And now I'm going to write minus like 600 for this position. Okay, and thanks that we are going to have extra movement, thanks to which animation is not going to be boring. Okay, let's check how it looks like. Okay, and as you can see, we are done with first part of our animation. Now let's move to the second part. So I'm talking exactly about this part of this animation. So let's start creating that. Firstly, let's create a new null, link that to the last null, and now we are going to create two keyframes. First keyframe, of course, for position is going to be on the 5-second mark, and second keyframe on like 8-second mark. And let's go to the second keyframe and let's change position here. Of course, we need to go on the left. Okay, probably that much. Now actually we can already add here our texture background as well, so let's copy all three elements of our texture background, let's duplicate them and let's move them on the new screen. Okay, perfect. Now let's return to our movement. We need to create graph for this movement, so let's go to graph editor, let's go to speed graph and let's create this type of graph. It should be like middle level of sharpness, and our graph should have peak exactly at 6th second mark. First element for this scene are going to be money, so let's import money. Let's make them 3D, of course. Let's put that below adjacent layers, camera. Now let's move that to our second scene, of course. And now we need to add two effects for our money. First effect is going to be curves effect again, and this time graph should look like this. And then we are going to add auto paint effect. Let's change frequency to 500. Okay, and actually we need to add one more effect, which is going to be bleach bypass. Thanks to this effect, our money will be darker, but still we'll have like curves of money, because if we'll add just fill effect, we'll set that to black. It will be just black without any curves of our money, but thanks to this effect we'll see that. And for bleach bypass, let's set amount to 4. Okay, perfect. As you can see now it looks really good. Let's duplicate money by 2 times and let's move one money somewhere here. Let's put that below our main money object. Now let's change position of our third money to somewhere there. Let's put that below main stack of money. Now let's add this character for our money. I already uploaded him here. Let's change scale to 15. Of course, make this 3D. Let's move him on our screen. Let's put him somewhere there. Let's move that below our money layers. Okay, now let's go to rotation, and in this rotation let's change that by 180. Okay, like that. Let's move him right there. And now let's copy effects from money to him as well. So just go to effects, copy all effects and paste them on our character exactly like that. Now let's add that text on our second scene along with this dollar symbol. Okay, so let's create new text layer. Let's put here dollar symbol and make this 3D. Let's put that below camera and adjustment layers. Now let's move that to our second scene and let's make that dollar symbol bigger. We are not going to add any animation for that, just put this dollar like here. Now let's go to 8-second mark and let's create new text layer. Okay, we want to start this animation and this text should appear at this place exactly. And let's write here overview. Okay, let's make this text like that. And here we are going to make the same text evo animation like before. So let's add text evo, let's set based on mode to words. Then go to opacity, change that to 0. This exact position to 40. Okay, perfect. Now let's copy paste this overview text. And let's put second layer like 15 keyframes ahead. Now let's move second layer like down, exactly here, like a little below first text, and let's change this text to the government. So let's write the government. Perfect. We can also move this text a little closer to our character. Okay, like that. Now we also want to copy turbulent displace effect from our previous text to our text for second scene of this animation. So let's copy this turbulent displace from, for example, powerful text, and let's paste that to our dollar and also overview and the government text. Now we need to add another and last movement for this animation. Okay, so to create our last movement, let's link another null to our fourth null. And now let's create two keyframes, of course. First keyframe somewhere here, second free keyframe at the end. And let's change position on our second keyframe to somewhere there. So now our character with text, if we will count these two elements as one composition, are centered on the text. It's another extra movement that is going to add more interesting look for this animation. Okay, and we are almost finished. One last really important thing is going to be this blood that is exploding in 3 places of our second scene. So let's add that blood and let's animate that. Okay, I just uploaded that, and here we are going to do few things. First, of course, make that 3D. Let's put that below camera and let's change position to somewhere here, so it should be below all elements for our second scene. Actually, make this a little bigger to okay, like that. Now let's add here extract effect. Let's click invert here, so our settings are going to be inverted. Now let's go somewhere here on timeline. Let's click on the keyframe for black point and let's add second keyframe for black point somewhere here, and let's put 80 as volume for second keyframe. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, thanks that our blood is animated. Now of course what we have to do is to create graph for that. Graph should be actually pretty sharp. You should aim in something like that. Okay, and now let's copy paste this blood by 2 times and let's go ahead with blood a little, okay, like that. And of course let's change position of our other 2 bloods. First blood can go somewhere there. Let's change the rotation to something like this, and second extra blood should be probably like there. Okay, and actually I think that we are done with all animation. Let's see how the final result looks like. Okay, and now we can say that we are 100% done with this animation. As you can see, we recreated that almost exactly same like in my first try of recreating that animation. So yeah, if you want to more content like that, please subscribe and give like under this video to make algorithm promote this. And with that being said, we can end that tutorial. Bye guys.